The arrest operation unfolded on a rainy Friday evening when surveillance teams watched Marcus Hale leave his workplace and head toward Maplewood Heights once again, almost as if the pull of the old neighborhood had become irresistible after the recent media attention. Undercover units followed at a safe distance, while the ring cameras along his likely route lit up in sequence like digital breadcrumbs, each new alert confirming his path straight back toward the street where Sarah Kline had died. When patrol cars finally activated their lights and sirens behind him on a quiet back road, Hale panicked and slammed his accelerator to the floor, initiating a high-speed chase through winding suburban streets that had neighbors rushing to their windows and grabbing their phones to record the unfolding drama. The pursuit reached terrifying speed as Hale weaved through traffic, running red lights and narrowly missing oncoming vehicles, his desperate flight captured in real time by multiple ring and traffic cameras that turned the entire neighborhood into a live crime show. Police helicopters joined the chase from above, their spotlights cutting through the rain like accusatory fingers, pointing directly at the man who had evaded justice for 2 decades, while ground units coordinated roadblocks ahead to prevent him from reaching the highway and disappearing again. At one point, Hale's vehicle fishtailed wildly on wet pavement, nearly flipping before he regained control and continued his frantic attempt to escape the digital and physical net that had finally closed around him. The chase ended dramatically when Hale's car slammed into a barricade of patrol vehicles at the edge of town, the impact sending glass and metal flying as officers swarmed the wrecked vehicle with weapons drawn and shouts of "Hands up!" echoing through the night air. Hale emerged, bloodied but defiant, still trying to fight, until a veteran detective who had worked the original 2004 case stepped forward and calmly read him his rights, looking the killer directly in the eyes as he said the words every investigator had waited 20 years to speak. The moment was captured on body cameras and nearby ring devices, creating footage that would later be studied in police academies as a textbook example of how modern technology and old-fashioned determination can finally bring closure to the longest of cold cases. Back at the station, as Hale sat in the interrogation room staring at the enhanced ring footage playing on a loop on the monitor in front of him, the weight of 2 decades finally seemed to settle on his shoulders. He initially denied everything, but when confronted with the DNA match, the scar identification, and the undeniable digital proof of his return to the scene, his resistance began to crumble in small, telling ways that experienced interrogators recognized as the beginning of the end. Sarah's family waited in a separate room, holding each other tightly as they prepared for the possibility of a full confession that might finally explain why their world had been shattered on that warm August night so many years ago. The arrest made national headlines within hours, with true crime enthusiasts and local residents alike sharing the ring footage across social media and marveling at how a simple doorbell camera had accomplished what hundreds of man-hours in traditional investigation had failed to achieve for 20 long years. The community of Maplewood Heights held a candlelight vigil that same night, this time not for a missing loved one, but for the justice that had finally arrived, proving that even the darkest monsters can be dragged into the light when ordinary people decide to install eyes that never sleep. In the stark fluorescent glow of the interrogation room, Marcus Hale sat handcuffed to the table as veteran detectives played the ring footage over and over, each loop forcing him to confront the undeniable proof that his carefully constructed life of freedom had finally collapsed under the weight of modern technology. At first, he maintained the same cold silence that had protected him for 2 decades, but as the hours passed and the DNA evidence was laid out alongside old crime scene photos of Sarah's body, something inside him seemed to break. In a voice barely above a whisper, he began to speak, describing how he had targeted Sarah that night simply because she was alone and convenient, admitting that the murder had haunted him in quiet moments, but never enough to stop the darkness that lived inside him from seeking new opportunities over the years. The confession continued for hours, revealing chilling details about how he had watched the neighborhood for weeks before the 2004 attack, how he had returned multiple times over the decades, driven by a twisted compulsion to revisit the scene, and how the new ring cameras had finally made him feel exposed in a way that no traditional police work ever had. He described the exact moment the 2024 camera light caught him, the sudden panic that made him turn his head just enough to seal his fate, and the sick realization that the same technology he once dismissed as harmless was now the instrument of his undoing.
Detectives listened in stunned silence as Hale detailed other crimes he had committed in the intervening years, some still unsolved, turning what began as a single cold case into a sprawling investigation that would keep the department busy for months to come. Sarah's family was allowed to read victim impact statements during the preliminary hearing, their words raw and powerful as they described the 20 years of birthdays, holidays, and milestones stolen from them by one man's senseless violence. Her son stood tall and spoke directly to Hale, his voice steady despite the tears, telling the killer that while nothing could bring her mother back, the ring footage had at least ensured that no other family would have to suffer the same endless waiting. The courtroom was packed with neighbors who had lived in fear for 20 years, many of them now proudly displaying their own ring cameras as symbols of the community's determination never to be vulnerable again. The trial itself was swift and decisive, with the ring footage played for the jury on a massive screen, its crystal clear images more damning than any eyewitness testimony could ever be. Forensic experts explained in meticulous detail how the scar, the tattoo, the DNA, and the digital timestamp all converged into an unbreakable chain of evidence that left no room for reasonable doubt. Hale's defense tried to argue entrapment and privacy violations regarding the camera footage, but the judge quickly shut down those claims, ruling that the ring device was legally installed on private property and the footage had been voluntarily shared with police. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before returning with guilty verdicts on all counts, including first-degree murder with special circumstances that ensured Hale would never see freedom again. In the emotional aftermath of the sentencing, where Hale received life without parole plus additional decades for the other crimes uncovered during the investigation, Sarah's family gathered outside the courthouse, holding photos of her smiling face and releasing white balloons into the sky as a final farewell. The ring camera that started it all was now displayed in the police department's cold case hall as a powerful reminder that justice has a long memory and modern technology has given it perfect vision. The entire community breathed easier, knowing that the monster who had haunted them for 20 years was finally caged, all because one family decided to install a simple doorbell camera that turned out to be the eyes of justice itself. The conviction of Marcus Hale sent powerful ripples throughout Maplewood Heights and beyond, inspiring neighboring towns to launch their own Ring Watch programs, encouraging residents to install and register doorbell cameras with local police for faster response times during emergencies. Neighborhood watch meetings that had once been sparsely attended now filled community centers to capacity, with experts teaching residents how to optimize camera angles, share footage responsibly, and use the technology not just for security, but for genuine community connection. Sarah's son became an unexpected advocate for the movement, speaking at local schools and events about how one piece of digital evidence had finally given his family the closure they had waited for 20 years to receive. Local news stations produced in-depth specials featuring the enhanced ring footage alongside interviews with the homeowners whose simple decision to install the camera had changed everything, turning ordinary citizens into accidental heroes whose vigilance had ended a 20-decade nightmare. The footage itself went viral across true crime platforms and social media, with millions watching the chilling moment when the killer's face was captured in perfect detail, sparking nationwide conversations about privacy versus safety and the responsibility that comes with living in an increasingly watched world. Manufacturers of Ring and similar devices reported record sales in the weeks following the story, as families across the country suddenly saw the technology not as an optional convenience, but a necessary shield against the kind of evil that took Sarah Kline. Within the police department, the case became required study material for new recruits, with training modules specifically dedicated to cold case reactivation through modern digital evidence and the importance of maintaining relationships with neighborhood residents who might hold the key to old files. Veteran detectives who had worked the original 2004 case found new purpose in mentoring younger officers, sharing stories of the long nights spent poring over evidence that had finally paid off in the most unexpected way possible. The cold case unit received additional funding and resources, ensuring that other long-forgotten files would receive the same level of technological attention that had finally brought justice for Sarah. For Sarah's family, the healing process was bittersweet and deeply personal, with quiet moments of reflection mixed with public celebrations of her memory through scholarship funds established in her name for young single mothers pursuing education. Her son visited her grave regularly now, no longer burdened by the unanswered questions that had shadowed his entire life, and found comfort in knowing that the same technology that had captured her killer was also protecting other families from similar tragedies. The community of Maplewood Heights began to heal in small but meaningful ways. Porch lights stayed on longer, neighbors waved more often, and a collective sense of vigilance replaced the lingering fear that had haunted Maplewood Heights for 20 decades. The story of the Ring camera that solved a 20-year-old case became a beacon of hope for families across the country, still waiting for answers in their own cold cases, proving that no matter how much time passes, justice has a way of finding its path when ordinary people choose to keep watch over one another through the simple act of installing eyes that never sleep. Even with Marcus Hale behind bars for the rest of his life,
certain questions continued to echo through late-night conversations in Maplewood Heights and beyond, the kind of haunting uncertainties that no conviction can fully erase. Why had he returned to the neighborhood after 20 years of freedom? Was it arrogance, compulsion, or some twisted need to relive his crime? How many other victims might there have been during those 2 decades of silence? And how many more could have been prevented if the technology that finally caught him had existed back in 2004? These questions, while painful, also served as powerful reminders of how rapidly the world of criminal investigation was changing and how important it was for communities to stay ahead of the monsters who preyed on the vulnerable. The case also sparked intense national debate about the balance between privacy rights and public safety, with privacy advocates raising concerns about the constant surveillance created by millions of doorbell cameras, while victims' rights groups argued that such technology represented the best hope for solving crimes that would otherwise remain forever cold. Legal experts analyzed the court rulings that had allowed the Ring footage to be used as evidence, creating new precedents that would influence future cases across the country, and ensuring that similar digital breakthroughs would face fewer obstacles in the years to come. The discussion reached all the way to state legislatures, where bills were proposed to create official partnerships between camera manufacturers and law enforcement for faster access to crucial footage during active investigations. For the detectives who had dedicated their careers to the Kline case, the resolution brought a profound sense of closure, mixed with the bittersweet realization that technology had succeeded where human determination alone had fallen short for so many years. They began documenting their experiences in training manuals and speaking at law enforcement conferences, sharing the lessons learned about persistence, community engagement, and the importance of embracing new tools, even when they seemed almost like science fiction compared to the methods of 2004. The Ring footage itself was preserved in the department's Hall of Fame alongside other groundbreaking pieces of evidence, serving both as a trophy of victory and a solemn reminder of the lives that had been lost before justice could arrive. Sarah's memory continued to inspire acts of kindness throughout the community, with annual memorial events featuring candlelight walks past the spot where she had fallen, and educational programs teaching young people about personal safety and the power of watching out for one another. Her son channeled his grief into advocacy work, traveling to speak at technology conferences about how simple consumer devices could become instruments of justice, and encouraging families to document their loved ones' stories so that no one would ever be forgotten the way Sarah almost was. The entire experience transformed the way people in Maplewood Heights viewed their everyday technology, turning what had once been simple convenience into something far more meaningful and protective. In the end, the lingering questions served not to diminish the victory, but to strengthen the community's resolve, reminding everyone that while technology had provided the final piece of the puzzle, it was the human determination to never give up and the collective decision to keep watch
that had truly brought the monster to justice after 20 long years in the shadows.